with America's Mayor live. I'm applauding for all those who helped me to get this show together. This is not a one-man operation. Never has been, never will be. Any one-man operation's a big failure. And even non-one-man operations like big help can be a big failure like the White House. The one thing sure about the White House is not a one-man operation. So I guess today we might as well begin with the extraordinary scene of the police having to raid Columbia University, or otherwise known as King's College, the home of Alexander Hamilton. For those of you who've seen the Hamilton play, which brought Alexander back into top five of our founding fathers, you know that King's College plays a big role in his formation and also in the many of the others because it was so convenient. Originally, King's College was located in downtown Manhattan, virtually a couple hundred steps, maybe 500 from City Hall. And it's a little hard with what you have, which I have. I imagine if you had the original plan to be easier, but it was a pretty it took up what I think would be thought of as about 3 to 4 blocks. In those days, it would have made it a very big college because now it takes up all of Morningside Heights. I mean, it's gigantic. And I can't tell you that I know the history of Columbia, left and right and the whole thing, but it has been left for a long time, but not as left as Yale and Harvard, which seemed to me to have been a place where communists went. Although I know back in the 50s, they wouldn't let communists on the faculty or even the assistant faculty of Harvard if they were card-carrying members and told the truth about it, which I think included de Blasio's mother, who she had like an unofficial job, and when she came up for an official job, it was found out that she was a communist, what they used to call in those days a card-carrying member of the Communist Party. The distinction being there were a lot of communists who didn't carry a card because they didn't want to be identified as such, and then a lot of people who are on the fringes. They flirt with communism because when it initially sounds good, unless you study it backwards. Backwards is like, let's study communism from the fall of the Soviet Union backwards. And now you get an idea of how it destroys human initiative, destroys human life, destroys anything it has to that stands in the way of the state. And if you analyze the things that happen to us, you can see how much of that is at the core of what's happening to us. Probably the most dramatic and the most prominent for those of us who are parents is the issue here is not just who gets to decide to mutilate a child's body, although, boy, that's a pretty important issue, or who gets to decide how a child should be educated. Most important part of this is they have achieved the Marxist objective of getting control of your child. Marx, I don't know if Marx ever put an actual year on it, but Hitler later on and Lenin earlier came up with the time period of they want your kid by between 2 and 3 years old because that's the formative period, and they want to break the control of the parent, just like they want to break any relationship with God. And the relationship is with the amorphous concept, the state, because they're going to tell you what to do for the rest of your life. So we're going through that right now. And what you saw at Columbia this last week, and what you're seeing at George Washington universities, and maybe another 20 or 30 serious ones around the country, make no mistake about it, have significant communist influence. Right at the beginning, Ted and I picked that up when we went to Harvard the Sunday before this all started. And the very first thing we saw was a big red poster. And my attention was called to it largely because of the caricature of Donald Trump. It clearly wasn't him, but I said to Ted, it makes him look like commandant of Nazi youth or something. That it had that look with the eyes of the hair. And then I thought, oh, well, maybe they just did a nasty picture.
Now, Columbia would
then we read the program. The program's going to begin with the head of some organ of the Communist Party, Oriana. And then some socialist who
if not first,
probably is just hiding the fact that she's a communist and the last person is the
communist revolution,
head of another organization that supports communism, and the middle person is a head of one of the unions, which
ism that's led to
have significant communist infiltration in the unions, some more than others. Teachers Union, probably the prime example. So this was a meeting that was really for the people who are going to cause trouble. It wasn't a meeting for the entire public in Harvard Square. And they must have had that meeting. It was going to be on Tuesday because Harvard really blew up a couple of days later. The culmination of it, putting up the Palestinian flag and taking down the American flag. Now that really set off fireworks, and the police have been in there, threw them out, arrested them, and are now trying to keep them out again. In New York, it's a somewhat different progression, but largely the same end result. The students slowly but surely started infiltrating the campus. At some point, they were told by the president, Menashe Shafiq, that they should cease and desist and leave because this is no place for living. That was the first of at least 4 or 5 warnings by her that if they didn't do it, she'd take them out. But of course, she never did. And then there was a lot of commentary about, can the police department go in anyway? And I don't see any restriction to the police department going in there anyway, other than the fact that Adams can never do anything that he says he's going to do. These things that would be sort of brave and heroic. He says he wants to do it, but then there's always something standing in his way. Either the state legislature is standing in his way. He's kind of afraid to stand up to them. The president is standing in his way. He's afraid to stand up to him. On this one, I don't think anybody was going to make a big deal whether it violates or it doesn't violate anything. If you clean this out right away. And I just don't see it. But I mean, the reality is Adams and the mayor in Washington, where they are having a demonstration now for 7 days at George Washington University. From what I can see on tape, it's even more violent than the Columbia one, which just began to turn to some degree of violence in the last 2 days. But you see more people being pushed around, beaten, a little bit of blood. I mean, come on. A little bit of blood. What is it, biology class? I mean, all classes at Harvard, all classes at Columbia, cancel. Well, you just achieved your purpose. Oh, you want to shut down my business? You come in, you shut down my business, and you sit in all the desks and you start talking about how to destroy the state of Israel, which is what they're doing. And now they start negotiating with Columbia and I guess the others, but Columbia in particular. And they want Columbia to agree with them that we should destroy the state of Israel. And Columbia has put it on hold. They said we got to break up this illegal gathering first, but we'll discuss that in the future with you. That, of course, is inviting another one of these things when you start discussing it with them. unless you're ready to do it. And the reality is, just because you're frightened and afraid, or I don't mean physically necessarily, but politically, you don't lie. Um, so I can't tell who's handling this worse, Harvard, Yale. Well, Yale actually not as bad. Cornell, very little. Um, so it really is between George Washington University and 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 Columbia as to who. I mean, they've had the longest, most indulged occupations of anyone. For example, NYU on the first night of the demonstrations closed down its campus. You see the people being pulled out and arrested. And then when you come back, I don't know, Ted, was it a day later? You were down there a day or two. They had all kinds of like, look to me like wood, large pieces of timber or wood separating the area that they would like to use to kind of hang out and yell hate to America and hate to Israel. They had it all boarded up in sections so that no more than 3 or 4 people could be in any one section. Or maybe I'm exaggerating. No more than 10 people could be in one section. Am I correct about that?
You're spot on with that. And a funny thing is, these protesters at this encampment, the self-proclaimed Gaza Solidarity encampment, weren't allowed to talk to press. There was a
Gaza Solidarity. Give me that again.
That's on the screen.
I always forget their name because I consider them like,
it's gone now.
Why not just call them the Palestinian state? I know it's gone, but it could come back. Yeah. Gaza what?
The Gaza Solidarity encampment. Those watching now, you can see it. It's right there on the right-hand side of the screen. This is the center of Columbia University, and they were right over there. You got to see the tents. That's the encampment right there.
Is that what's left now?
No, this was as of late last week. This is now gone. This has all been cleared out.
This is before they did their.
We were able to infiltrate the encampment, and these are the signs. And so the People's University. Anyway, so this is the encampment. This is the area that they had taken over. This is the main part of the campus grounds. And this is a look inside the encampment here.
That's the Butler Library, right?
Yeah.
Nicholas Murray Butler is one of the great scholars and controversial. There are people who agree with him, people who don't. And frankly, it's been so long ago, I don't remember what they agreed with him about or didn't. But he was one of the great creators of higher education and the curriculum for it. And I'm going to guess now, because this was the hallmark of Columbia, their Western civilization program came from him. Now, what was that? It was a mandatory group of courses that you had to take. So that if you wanted to graduate from Columbia, you had to be proficient on the Western civilization. Now, the school that I went to, Manhattan College, some years earlier, borrowed it for liberal arts education and went further, and I think did a better job, even though one has a great big name and the other doesn't have a great big name. Manhattan College is a fine, fine school. Unlike Columbia, like you have to get grades. And so by the time you compare the two educations, one may be more prestigious, but the other is better. But they had a program in the arts school that had me switch from pre-med because I loved the program so much. It was a program in which you took, for your 4 years, you took 8. It dropped on me. Huh? 8. They didn't teach you how to not knock over these things here. Maybe 12. Well, here's what you did. You took the following course. Remember, this is a liberal arts education, not science. So you took a course in history, you took a course in literature, you took a course in philosophy, and you took a course in art, which was a small level credit course. Each year, you had to take those 4 courses. The first year, that first 4 courses and took you from the beginning of the world to the end of the Roman Empire. Now, you studied the history of that. You study the philosophy there, which is quite heavy in philosophy because that's where all the Greek philosophers reside, and those before the Greeks and the few Roman philosophers. Literature, wow. The Greek dramas, the Greek comedies, the Roman comedies, and then some assorted other great works like Beowulf and things like that. Oh, Beowulf is the second year, come to think of it. So you studied them in coordination, and then the artwork. Then you went to the second year, and you went from then to the Congress of Vienna, I think, when they put really kind of forged modern Europe. And then you went Congress of Vienna to the Second World War, and then you did modern history. But in each situation, you studied the history, the philosophers of the era, whether it's Marx or Hegel or whoever it might be, Santayana, whoever it would be. You study the literature of the era, and of course, you study the history per se. So it was a great program, and it instilled a great respect and a great love for Western civilization and a realistic appraisal of its weaknesses. Now, let's, and this, of course, I don't know. I always suspected, largely because of the similarity of the programs, that Manhattan borrowed it from Columbia and expanded it into deeper studies, because the Columbia program was almost like a survey course of Western civilization, which I don't know if they even have survey courses anymore, but it was very, very prevalent in the big universities. I don't think we had survey courses at Manhattan College, where we had only, like in the undergraduate school, like 1,000, 1,200. In the art school, we had like 400. So think about that. You can really get very individualized treatment on what's, how was Rome really founded? Was it Romulus and Remus, or was it put there by a god, or somebody very luckily just put up a pizza place there, and then the whole thing went because Italian pizza is so. Look, I'm entitled to make fun of Italians because I'm Italian, but that isn't making fun of them. Come on. If we hadn't invented pizza in the United States, Italians would still be poor. Just think of all the money Italians make because you people love pizza. You know how many Italians don't like pizza? Not this one.
But the pizza we hear, how different is that from actually Italian?
There is no
pizza?
Italian pizza.
Pizza means
Italian pizza is a complete. What it is what Dr. Maria can correct me on this, but back in Italy in the old days, let's go back to ancient Italian cooking. And remember, Italian is a country of regions, didn't become a country in 1860. So when I talk to you about pizza in Sicily and pizza in Bologna, we're talking about two different concepts. But really, pizza means pie in Italian. And Italians were very, very interested very often in making their dishes with a pie, like chicken, not chicken pot pie, but like a chicken or. So that's where pizza came from. It came from the main course, and then exactly how it developed into what it is, which is essentially cheese, right, and tomato sauce. That's it, and a great crust. And I think it's the bakers of Italy that really developed pizza. And I really do consider, if you can get a pizza at a bakery, try it. It's always better. The sauce may not be better, but the crust is. You don't even need the sauce.
What did you, before we get back to the show? What did you think of Detroit style pizza? You had to try.
I liked the Detroit style pizza. You know that. I liked it a lot. I thought it was a little greasy, but I don't mind. I mean, I'm only saying that because I know people's things they don't like about pizza. Some people don't expect it to be greasy. I often say, well, why don't you try Protestant food then? Because Italian food, it definitely is greasy.
That's
Protestant food is
salty,
tasteless. But Remember,
English,
there is
right?
no such thing as Protestant food. It's a Giuliani Allen Placa thing that we made up to make fun of people. And the reality is, but you remember, a lot of the Protestant movement,
I thought
a
England.
lot of the Protestant movement was a reaction to anything joyful in life. So, I mean, there are Protestant sects that did away for Christmas for 200 years because Christmas was too much of a celebration. A lot of those Christians had to be reacquainted with Christmas. They did away with singing in the church, which means you don't have Beethoven's B minor mass. They did away with any of the beautiful colors and statues, and as part of that, they did away with some of the fancy cooking. Well, we're going to take a short break here on the Food Network, and we'll be back. And when we come back, it'll be America's Mayor Live, talking about the universities and how it all went today. Okay, and observations on how it will never happen again.
We're having the biggest sale ever on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save 60% on our Goose Down comforters, the best comforters ever. They go perfectly with our MyPillow bed sheets and duvet covers. Save 25% on our brand new kitchen towels. They're made with the same technology as our famous My Towels. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. Our seasonal flannel sheets are finally in. You save up to 50% and they sell out fast every year, so order now. They're truly the best flannel sheets you'll ever sleep on. Or save up to 80% on all our clearance items. And this is where it gets even better. For a limited time, your entire order ships absolutely free. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use that promo code to get deep discounts on all MyPillow products. And for a limited time, your order ships absolutely free.
We're back.
Good evening. This is Rudy Giuliani, and I'm back again. And you cannot figure out what's on my chest, right? It looks like maybe a vest. Protection vest for when we got to protect ourselves. It's a Mike blanket. It's a My Pillows blanket with the beautiful flag like this inside. Quite beautiful, particularly for the winter. Wow, look at this. And I used it the other night. This is a beach towel, really, but I use it at home. Stick it on your in your den or even in your living room with the I would get these right now so they don't run out. I'm afraid these are going to run out. And I'm afraid they're going to run out because the pillows did. The very special patriotic pillows ran out yesterday. And because people are getting them, obviously, for me, I think about the 4th of July 2 days before and try to buy things for it. And everything's gone. So I get the worst little, oh, I want that big one. But now I've been learning to prepare for the holidays that I like to dress up or decorate the house. I just thought this would be fabulous for Memorial Day or 4th of July. Put it on a table, put it outside. And then they have some pillows that recreate the original Ross flag. And I mean, it's a lot of the Declaration of Independence, a lot of good stuff for the patriotic holidays coming up. And then you can keep them and people will get to know them. But isn't it nice you can get to sleep under a replica of the American flag? Wow.
MyPillow.com/Rudy.
You can also get everything else there that you want, the blankets and the sheets and we have them all, but you have to replace them sometime unless you're a pig. And nobody watching the show is a pig. I know that. I can tell. I would smell it if you were. So they cleaned out Columbia. Big question now is what happens to them going before Bragg, who I think this year he's prosecuting on one case. So he may not have room for it. I think he's prosecuting Trump. And it really is a perplexing case for him because so far he can't seem to find a crime. And I always thought you had to charge the crime before you arrested somebody. But he has a different concept. You just charge crime, then you spend the trial trying to figure out what's the crime. Now, somebody has to teach him this is not a TV game show like Guess the Crime. it's a trial in the Anglo-American tradition, which is sacred. Because to take a man's liberty away, you got to be as sure as you can be. So I think a mistrial here. I would be shocked that at some point along the way there isn't a mistrial here. That it would have been if it weren't for the fact that the judge is seriously compromised by his hatred of Trump. Otherwise, the daughter wouldn't have spent all that time selling and promoting all kinds of anti-Trump trash, and that may save you from the usual rule. But he's trying to engineer himself in so that he'll be the judge. Now, why do I say that? Because Merchan has never been elected a Supreme Court justice. He's an appointed justice for 22 years, 23 years. It makes a technical difference legally. Somebody really should check his credentials. But it doesn't really make that much of a difference. He is a state Supreme Court justice, but not appointed in the same constitutional and lawful way as the others. What's the constitutional and lawful way? Got to get elected with the endorsement of one of the political parties statewide. Almost all the rest of them, I believe, were elected. Until the chief judge pulled a fast one when two recused themselves and brought up judges from the lower court that he knew would be sympathetic to Harvey Weinstein, and they overturned the Harvey Weinstein case. But basically, the judge just happened to lose when that case was coming up. Two of the judges that would have voted against it, which would have made it a 4-3, and Harvey's convicted. Not that I'm suggesting that the judges of New York would fool around with the second, well, at the time, the highest donor to the Democrat Party and to them. I mean, the Democrats are an example of the rectitude of corruption. Gotta tell the truth. I can only carry that out so far. Now, GU, as I told you, is having a similar situation. GU has also decided that the police can't come in except by invitation, which will be a new category now, which is law enforcement by invitation. So if it's behind closed doors, you have to wait. I don't know what happens if you provoke a call. That'd probably be some kind of entrapment. We make a lot of new rules here in order to service the ignorant revolutionaries that frighten people that don't frighten me at all, because they really are imbeciles. Chief Daughtry of the New York City Police Department should be given a medal for what he did yesterday. Can we show? Do we have a rendition of Chief Daughtry, who I'm afraid I don't know his exact responsibility. Chiefs have different things they do. Some are the head of patrol, some of the head of procurement, some of the head of. I mean, they're the people at a high level who help the police commissioner. They're really the vice. Maybe we say they're the vice presidents of the police department. So the chief has been around a long time, and watch what he does. Let's make one major distinction. In one place, if you're homosexual, you go to jail for 10 years. In the other place, you have a right to be treated equally. And then if it goes beyond homosexuality and it turns out to be more, in their eyes, egregious, well, then they still do stoning, right? They're not as of this age or world. And they take, and we say they falsely read the Quran. They read all of the Quran. You got to read only half the Quran, and you got a pretty good religion. You read the second half, and you basically have well, you have a cult, then you go from a cult to a wild, conquering mob and army, and finally it becomes really a combination of that and organized crime, which exists on shakedowns. So make it simple. Under the Quran's final teaching, all Jews and Christians have to be converted. And their first objective is Jews. I don't know if that's because the hatred is greater or the numbers were smaller and it was easier to deal with them. But in any event, they began the practice of wiping out Jews way back then and continued it. And it inheres in the religion because Muhammad tells them to kill all the Jews and all the non-believers, which would include the Christians. So when people say it's a misreading of the Quran, we're only going to solve this if we're truthful. It is not a misreading of the Quran. It's a correct reading of the Quran, but put in context, it contradicts things that were said earlier. And I think as a sensible modern person, you can reinterpret the Quran and drop out the offensive parts because you could say they've been superseded by the more humane parts that sort of puts Islam in something like the mainstream of religion, because it is not now. Most religions do not believe that you can perform abortions at 7, 8, and 9 months. It's only the more barbaric countries who believe that. Well, like New York State, for example. But most European countries would not permit that because they have a significantly larger respect for life than New York does. Of course, there are states in America that have an equal or even greater respect, but I'm just focusing on this particular state. But this gentleman, have we shown a picture of him?
Not yet.
Well, shall we?
Yeah.
It's always good. I think it's always good to see, to see photos and pictures and things that help you remember. So, what do you think of Judge Mershon? Judge Mershon is going to allow Donald Trump to go to his grandson's graduation. Thank you, Judge Mershon. Even with all your conflicts, you're willing to do that. You think maybe it's because we broke your couillon, son? We did a good job on you, pal. Every night, every night. What kind of person doesn't let a man go to his son's graduation or grandson's graduation? Particularly a guy taking 1 day off a week when most judges work 5, you only work 4. So you put a lot of flexibility in your schedule for you, but not for anyone else. And the role of a judge in a criminal case is not to inflict additional penalties and pain on the person on trial. The jury is going to decide if he's guilty or not. Then you'll get your chance to impose punishment. You don't get to do it beforehand by not allowing him to see his son's graduation or grandson's graduation or go to the funeral of his father. In fact, most judges that I've dealt with, and I've dealt with a lot of judges and also on the federal court, and I don't know a judge that would do what you did, which is mean. Shows that the motion to recuse you should be granted because you have a very mean attitude toward Donald Trump. But also there are more substantial things. Your daughter is making a fortune by parroting and giving advice to firms on what they can say about Donald Trump to make fun of him. That would fit with the trial. because they realize that their best chance, their maybe only remaining chance of defeating him, there's only a chance if he's convicted of something. And it's only a chance because the way they mishandled this case, and let the public see what a ridiculous non-case it is, or the one that's falling apart in Georgia with Fannie and Fannie's boyfriend, and money that she reimbursed Loverboy for their $8,000, $10,000, $12,000, $15,000 vacations. Money in cash. She did it in cash. Why? You ask her that. She found all this cash in her grandfather's pillows. And at some point she was able to discover some, but I suspect, and at least to some smaller extent, we figured that out, that it isn't just a smaller extent, pretty big extent. So none of this is being investigated, of course. Once again, like Trump, just let's see if we can destroy this man because he represented Donald Trump quite effectively, I might add. We've got to end this. We've got to end this in this country if you want to come back together again. There is no reason that somebody, because he's a Republican or a Democrat, is treated any differently in the bar of justice. And if you have the feeling of that you can't, or there's something even more important about the law, because it's so important to maintain respect for the law, because the law really works when it deters, and you don't have to come into court and get tried. That's the ultimate goal of a great society like ours. Well, that is eroded dramatically when a judge just decides that he's going to set up his own rules and take the cases that he wants. And the cases that he wants are of one category, and he's supposed to be a public servant who's going to give justice on all cases. Well, this whole case, as it unfolds, has already done great damage to the justice system, because we've had such absurd moments as the man who testified that he got a search warrant to get Donald Trump's emails and devices. So what kind of privacy do you have? I mean, this country was supposed to be a country with all sorts of federal and protected rights. Well, when we get back, let's see how many we have left. It might not be too long a segment. We'll be right back.
Is something that you can plug into your television, and now you can use your television as a social television type experience. So in the Portal universe, you can watch your favorite content creators' videos, live streams, music. We also have TV subscriptions as well.
Subscriptions.
You can also
regular channels, all the sports.
Right, you can actually cut your cable from your cable subscription and get QUX TV on our QX TV boxes, and you can pay half the price that you're currently paying for your cable television subscription, and you can get all the best premium TV channels and more. I mean, it's really, there's so much on there, Rudy. I mean, you've seen it.
No, I've seen it, and I use it, and it's I mean, it's just exactly the same except for half the price. Plus, nobody is finding out what I'm watching, and that's not being reported to anybody.
Right, so you have absolute privacy using this device, which you don't have on other devices out there currently on the market.
This is absolutely great. QUX.TV is how you can find out about it. QUX.TV.
Use promo code RUDY to receive $30 off.
Come on. Hello.
Welcome back to America's Mayor Live, as I share the Instagram microphone with Dr. Maria, my partner, and my president. And
His doctor. but I'm a board certified nurse practitioner, doctor from a PhD in healthcare.
May I make a comment about that?
Yeah.
I don't care what you are. You're the best. You're the best.
I am a very good diagnostician.
best
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah. You're the best diagnostician I've ever met. And even with people that we see at parties and stuff like that, she'll pick them out and say that guy's got the flu or that guy's got this or that. Or sometimes she says names that I can't pronounce. He's got
Well, I'd like to talk real briefly. You have a worldwide audience, and those of you from the UK probably know that AstraZeneca, it's not an mRNA type vaccine, but for COVID-19, we did not have it here in the United States, but AstraZeneca has finally admitted, after they didn't deny there was anything wrong with their vaccine, that it does cause a condition called thrombocytopenia. And now, even though the government indemnified AstraZeneca, it looks like some people are able to sue. So that's a good for the people.
Now,
Because,
tell us what this is.
well, that's the name of the company.
No, what is it?
Thrombocytopenia, it's blood clotting.
Okay, and you get it from which one? Which one of
Well,
the?
you can get it from the mRNA injections too, but the AstraZeneca one was a non-mRNA vaccine, but a lot of people were harmed. A lot of people were harmed with mRNA, and I hope they get justice.
So the people who got this heart condition, they got it from
Blood
which
clot.
pill? Which one or which injection?
I just said they can get it from
sorry.
everyone. That's okay. But it's the AstraZeneca one right now that's getting a lot of attention in the UK because of the company finally admitting they knew it caused thrombocytopenia. So on to other news.
Okay.
James Biden admitted in a congressional hearing that, remember the diamond that the communist Chinese kind of slipped to Hunter when Joe was vice president?
Mm-hmm.
Well, apparently two of the two diamonds that the Communist Party gave to Hunter were lost. Now James Biden is saying he threw it out in the garbage.
You did?
That's what he's saying.
Well, doesn't matter.
The diamonds, maybe they sold them, maybe they gave it to somebody in the family. I don't
Maybe
know.
they've got it hidden in that offshore account that the lady wanted to give them. The FBI never went and saw her.
Maybe so. Maybe so.
Who knows what's in that account? Ooh. I mean, Joe's been taking graft from day one. So even though it was
Boy, it's
measly
hot out here. Whew.
even though it was like measly little trailer trash money at the beginning, I mean, he started with big money there. And according to a number of people in Ukraine, but most importantly, the woman the FBI would not interview, he's got the goods on him exactly where they used to be or are. And he came to Ukraine for 3 of his last 4 days as vice president. And I don't think it really was over government affairs because he never did very much about that. He just screwed up Ukraine to it fairly well, like he did everything else, according to Gates. And I think he came there to make sure all the money was going to flow. It's a lot of money, a lot of different sources of money from a lot of crooked people. Interesting thing is Zelensky knows the whole ballgame.
If I put a sociology hat on, that's what we used to say in emergency medicine because we have to treat everything. So sometimes we would say, oh, I'm going to put my cardiologist hat on and treat a heart attack. We're going to put our neurology hat. Well, if I'm going to put my sociology hat, psychiatry hat on, and I look at America and how little we seem to be offended at people breaking the law, it's a dumbing down of our society, of our values. In the way it's done, it's a very Marxist, communist type thing. They keep pushing the envelope until, okay, now we accept if you steal under $900. Now we accept this. Now we accept
Brilliant
that.
observation.
I don't understand how the American people are so okay with a corrupt president. Our values should be here. We are the United States of America. We are the beacon of freedom for the world. But yet now we act like a third world country. We act like a banana republic. We don't have values as a country anymore. We love diversity, right? We love diversity of thought. As a CEO, I used to say that all the time. I love diversity of thought because I'll get the best end product because people have different prisms, how they view things in life, and I want to hear all about how they view things, how they think. But one thing we always need to share, even in an organization, we have to share the values. And in America, our values were law and order, kindness, respect, tolerance. You look at how little
Freedom of religion.
freedom of religion, you look at how little tolerance there is about a conservative point of view. If you believe that we should do something about the debt, you're a MAGA right-wing extremist and you should be arrested.
Yeah, you want to take Social Security away.
If you stuck up as a lawyer, not just for Donald Trump, I may say Rudolph Giuliani stuck up for the American people. What you may or may not know is it was American citizens who kept calling him, who kept telling him about situations in the 2020 election. That's why this is the brilliant legal mind he has. There's all this fake news that he was in 60 court cases. He wasn't. Maybe some of Trump's White House lawyers are, or other lawyers were. He was not. He was in one, and he wasn't even supposed to be in that one. But the lawyer was threatened, the Pennsylvania lawyer.
Which nobody cares about.
He got over 300 affidavits of people saying they weren't allowed to view ballots. And that seemed to be a theme in many of the swing states. So not only was he sticking up for the rights of President Trump to have a fair election, he was sticking up for the rights of American citizens whose ballots should mean something. Why I got on this, I don't know.
Well, the line's still, right?
Say I just arrived
Out of being able to tell the
at a
truth.
place and it is hot here. Like I need to go back home to New Hampshire because whew, this is very hot, Mayor Giuliani.
So what do you think, Dr. Maria, since let's get you on a subject that you're not an expert, but are quite knowledgeable, what do you think of this idea that Trump now has been cited for contempt 9 times for at a total of $10,000? Is that it?
It's 9 apiece, or was it-
It's $9,000 total. And if he does it again, they're going to put him in jail. And meanwhile, as of tonight, even I think the witnesses that are going to testify, who he disagrees with, get to pound away at him. They get to say he's a liar. He's not telling the truth. Michael Cohen in particular. How many American people react to that? I mean,
I
do
think
they say, "Oh, it's Donald Trump. We don't really give a damn what happens to him."
that, and as a matter of fact, we should not identify as Democrat, Republican, Libertarian, right? We should all identify as American citizens. I happen to belong to this party's platform because I believe in fiscally sound thing, whatever it is. It's too bad that we're getting divided. But again, that was by design. I keep hearing lawyers who identify as lefties say this is a travesty. There's not even a crime being charged. The fact that the statute of limitations went out, and I ask you the questions because you're one of the greatest legal minds of the century. I don't even understand how it could get even this far. Like, isn't there an intervening body that says, wait a minute, it should be the judge, right? But we don't have a fair judge. We don't have a judge who thinks with a legal mind to let this go forward. But I think people see right through it. People are bored with it. People are tired of it, but they know what it is. I think I watch sometimes these reporters who go out on the street. What Ted does, what you do, you want to know what the American people think. More and more, they're going to lefty college campuses, everything, and everybody's like, no, we see what this is. It's election interference. The radical far left are very afraid of President Trump and they want to bury him. So it doesn't matter about law. But to me, this shouldn't go unpunished. We cannot allow, I'm of the elk, right? I go back to.
You're an elk?
Is that the right term that I use? Of the
Ilk.
cloth ilk. Sorry.
She loves elk.
I love elk too.
She loves elk. My friend Bo loved elk.
Yeah.
My friend Bo loves that.
I think that with certain things, right, you can be lenient and give chances. Other things you can't let you can't give them an inch. Like during the 2020 Marxist riots, Black Lives Matter riots, when they went and stormed that police station, to me, that should have been done. Actually, I can go even before that when there was this anti-police rhetoric. And in New York City, somebody threw water on a police. To me, that person should have been arrested, not tolerated. That could have been acid. Who knows what that is? You can't let things, because the more you give, the more criminal-minded people will take. So I hope this gets punished. Oh, I think it looks like a break sign.
Is it time for a break?
So it was nice joining you.
Well, thank you, Dr. Maria. I had a few more questions for you. If you don't mind,
Do you want me
if you don't mind sitting there.
I will stay.
Okay, I think the audience always likes your being on for any number of reasons, including your brilliance. So we'll be back in just a few minutes, and we'll take a look at where the state of the race is right now, with what is it? One criminal trial going on and 3 to come.
Have a bite of your food.
Delivers on its promise to do good and never forget the sacrifices America's greatest heroes have made for us. Heroes who risked their lives to keep our communities and our country safe. Heroes like United States Marine Corps Captain and pilot John Jeremy Sachs. Captain Sachs sustained fatal injuries when his military aircraft crashed during training, killing him and 5 other service members. He's remembered by loved ones as courageous, brilliant, and devoted to his career, family, and friends. John is survived by his wife, Amber, who gave birth to their second daughter 3 months after his death. Tunnel to Towers paid the mortgage on the family home for Amber and their 2 daughters. The foundation has helped over 1,000 military and first responder families navigate the worst of times by removing the burden of a mortgage payment. Our nation's heroes and their families need your help now more than ever. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. T2T.org. That's T, the number 2T.org. T2T.org. Please donate now.
We get a lot of fan letters thanking Mayor Giuliani for bringing the truth.
The Towers Foundation delivers on its promise to do good and never forget the sacrifices America's greatest heroes have made for us. Heroes who risked their lives to keep our communities and our country safe. Heroes like United States Marine Corps Captain and pilot John Jeremy Sachs. Captain Sachs sustained fatal injuries when his military aircraft crashed during training, killing him and 5 other service members. He's remembered by loved ones as courageous, brilliant, and devoted to his career, family.
We get a lot of fan letters thanking Mayor Giuliani for bringing out censored materials, for understanding how they feel. And we appreciate that. We can't answer all the letters. I do try to answer some, and Mayor Giuliani does, of course, sign things that you send in. How we bring you this, because we do have to eat and make a little bit of a living, is we have sponsors. But every sponsor that comes to us wants to do business doesn't mean we're going to take their product. We have to believe in it. We have to believe in the values of the company. And we certainly do with MyPillow. Good quality products that are American made. So please, if you are looking for towels or bed sheets, I know the economy's tough. Believe me.
Oh,
I went shopping the other day. I got one meal.
He's really socked the prices down quite a bit.
Yeah. So don't forget to use that code Rudy. And QUX.TV is a really innovative product to avoid being spied on because all your cable companies can get information about you. So it was designed for privacy, but in the meantime, as an added benefit, they were able to buy licenses to a lot of cable shows at a fraction of the price you're paying. So check it out, QUX.TV, and if you decide to move forward, use the code Rudy.
Well, I think,
Questions you were going to ask?
well, first of all, there are things I want to bring to the people's attention and see your reaction to them as
Oh,
well.
go ahead.
Okay, well,
It's like
first,
speed.
first of all,
something.
Biden has now, for I don't know, the umpteenth time, called a BB and told him he doesn't want him to, basically doesn't want him to invade Rafah, and basically and end Hamas, or at least end Hamas in Gaza. First of all, you're not going to end Hamas because they're all in places like Qatar and elsewhere, where they're being protected by those governments and by the United States.
In living
Because
mansions.
if the United States told those countries, people are gone. So they're being protected by the United States as well as the
Qatar.
country, the country they're at, which are countries that largely
Depend
depend
on
on the U.S. Well, so that's one thing. The other thing is Bibi, however, has made it clear with a public statement that whatever Biden has to say, Rafah is on. And in fact,
It's every right to say that. I would want a president to defend.
and in
What
fact,
happened to them on October 7th is the devil. It's evil.
they're making preparations right now.
Yeah.
They have large buses there as of about 4 or 5 hours ago. And those buses are to transport civilians to places of safety. Now, I do not remember the English putting buses in Frankfurt when they bombed the living daylights out of it, or the Germans putting them
It's unheard of.
in Britain when they bombed the hell out of that. Nor did we supply buses for Hiroshima.
No,
So
it's very typical of Israel to look out for innocent civilians.
The only ones that do that.
Yeah. It's unheard of. They also gave, through their time, they've given a lot of food, a lot of aid to the Palestinians.
I really have no
They give
desire
them
to see
property.
any civilian die, but I mean, it is true that 85% of the Palestinian people support Hamas, which leads me to the second one, which is Biden wants to bring them in, wants to bring in the Palestinian refugees. Now, I don't know where this comes from. Does this come from his being a communist? Does this come from his being something else? Does it come from how ignorant and stupid he is? But then he doesn't decide. There's a whole little panel around him. So they want to bring it to the United States.
But they're ignorant as well. They don't know history. They don't look at
But
things.
they know that the Palestinians are taught at 2 years old to kill us, don't they?
You would think, but I can't even say if they do. But if they knew anything, they would know Egypt doesn't allow them in. They would see what happened to Lebanon, a beautiful country.
that could help.
They let the Palestinians in. All of a sudden, Christians are being murdered, and the place is like a cesspool now. Like, you have to be educated before you make serious decisions like that. And look at poor Sweden. Sweden is so overwhelmed. Women are being raped frequently. Women are being abused. Swedish women, because of they dress differently, and the men are saying, "Look, they're violating Sharia law." They don't have to follow Sharia law, but they are trying to overtake Sweden. So every place that massive droves of Palestinians, or not even sometimes just some certain types of Middle Eastern people, it's backfired on everyone.
It's a 10-year penalty in Palestine, not Hamas, Palestine, to be a homosexual.
Yeah.
So that's what you're supporting,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
Please don't do a stupid distinction between Hamas and Palestine. The Hamas are Palestinians who are warriors. The other Palestinians, largely, with some exceptions, which are noteworthy and should be taken into consideration if we can prove it, support what Hamas is doing, particularly what they did on October the 7th, which is to pull off what they regard as an enormously successful destruction of Jewish children and women, and also hostages.
Yeah.
Right.
Where is my president talking about the American hostage? Never mind Israeli hostages, which he should, because they're supposed to be our ally. But there's American hostages still there. We never hear our
I mean,
president talk about them.
When did you ever get the impression that he was president of America? I never was.
I'm trying to be respectful.
I stopped being respectful on the third bribe. I mean, I prosecuted public officials who were crooks, and I didn't have any respect for them. Also, I don't have respect for these judges who don't act like judges.
No, I don't either.
I don't know why people stand up when
And I don't
Mershon comes in.
associations.
I don't understand why people stand up when Mershon comes in the room when he's got his daughter making oodles of money attacking Trump, and he doesn't realize he has a conflict, and then he rules against him on every single thing.
It's the alarm.
And we've got to stand up when he comes in, just because he's got a dress on.
I wouldn't do it. I would not stand up. I
So-
stand up for one person, the Lord God. That's it.
Fox has pulled the series on Hunter.
What is that? Tell
Uh,
me what that is. I
Fox
don't even
News
know.
pulled down a miniseries on Hunter Biden after facing a lawsuit threat from the first son's lawyers.
Oh, chickens. Fuck
Yes.
you, chicken.
The 6-part program, The Trial of Hunter Biden, had been available on Fox Nation, the network's digital
Maybe
streaming
the first
platform,
one. Yeah.
but will stay down at least temporarily, pending a review. The program was produced in and has been available since 2022. We are reviewing the concerns that have been raised, have taken it down, Fox News. The prior day, Hunter's lawyers penned a scathing letter for the cable news giant,
Of course they're gonna.
accusing it of publishing hacked, intimate images of the scandal-plagued 54-year-old.
Yeah, exactly.
They demanded Fox News issue a series of retractions.
I wouldn't do it. Look at Hunter Biden himself. Here's how he abused women, right? Including someone he was supposed to be in love with, his sister-in-law. He took the images having private sexual intercourse, put them up on Pornhub, probably to get money to buy crack. I mean, he's the one that put out his images on his own.
Why is
Dear
that never
Lord.
mentioned? That's never mentioned, is it?
No, hardly is it?
No, and even you know what I find really disturbing, Maria? We've always concentrated on the censorship by the left-wing media and what they keep out. They're doing censorship in the right-wing
Oh,
media.
sure.
And I wonder what the connection is. For example, they never mentioned
They're afraid of lawsuits.
They never
don't you?
mentioned that he was the partner of James Bulge, of Whitey Bulger's nephew,
yeah.
for a very long period of time in a very questionable, nefarious business with Red China. Well, I mean, if you've got the son of the vice president, the son of the secretary of state, in business with the nephew of the biggest organized criminal in America at the time, who hoodwinked the FBI into killing an enormous number of people and hoodwinked Mueller into doing it. That's not newsworthy. I mean, the American people aren't entitled to know that.
Yes. You're entitled to know everything. This should be a transparent
No,
government.
But you can't know everything because you can't report everything.
Yeah,
You got to
yeah.
report what's important.
But
That's
you
not
have to have
important.
investigative journalists. And
That's not
shows
important.
now are opinion shows.
The only way you get anything investigated, by the way, is by doing an article about it. The article doesn't have to say there's any. The article raises the question that hedge fund, exactly the way it's constructed, by its very nature, raises a question of criminality. It doesn't prove one, but it raises a question of it.
Yeah.
It's hard to understand who would take money from Red China to start with. And if that isn't a crime, to take money from Red China. Number two, it has on it the nephew of one of the biggest criminals in America, Devin Archer, who I think now is in jail for cheating Native Americans, Kerry's stepson, who I have to say at some point walked away from the conspiracy, but never has really given honest testimony about why he did that.
Maybe he's got ethics, morals.
Well, no, well, if he's
Maybe
doing
he
it,
loves his country.
yeah, but if he might love his country, but if he loved his country, he would tell us just how crooked.
Maybe he's in talks with people behind the doors, or maybe he doesn't want to be Arkansas, like
He doesn't have the courage to do it.
yeah.
He doesn't have the courage to tell the truth. The truth will set you free. If in fact he knows, for example, when the money came in October of 2016, which was a laundered payment through Latvia that got whacked up, divided, and that's my Justice Department term, between him and Hunter and Devin, and $800 went to the VP. He sure as hell has an obligation to tell us that. He doesn't have an obligation to keep it quiet.
Yeah.
And
People
exactly
from the same
what,
cloth as you and I anymore.
and what involvement did his father-in-law have in it? I mean, is it just an accident that he's involved in a private equity firm that gets $1.5 billion from China? Really has no record of any kind. They don't give that kind of money to Goldman Sachs. What did it have to do with his father being Secretary of State, his stepfather being Secretary of State? We're entitled to know the answer to that.
We are entitled.
Particularly with
We're
all of the
absolutely
infiltration, from China. I mean, the thing about the Biden bribes that makes it really confusing that they cover it up the way they do is they're not just sort of like one-offs, meaning he got a bribe from a defense manufacturer. He got a bribe from a shoe manufacturer. He got a bribe to pass a bill for a hospital. He got bribes from the enemies of the United States. These are national security bribes. And then he did things with these companies. When I say he, I mean him, Bulger's nephew, Archer, and I don't know when the Kerry kid got out, but to give them defense weaponry that they weren't entitled to.
And on a Bible,
This is getting real close to being a traitor.
before Biden announced running for president, and it was talked about that he was going to put his name in the ring, I said he can't run for president. He'll never pass a security clearance. Like, especially more information had come out about him. Why, when he was vice president? You know what? I would have respected anybody in the Obama administration who would have done an investigation on what Biden was doing over in Ukraine and other places. We do that to our own. Republicans do it. Look at, they went after Santos hard. I hate this that, because it's a party member, we got to protect him at all costs. No, you got to look yourself in the mirror every day. All right, I'm going to stop on my soapbox.
Well, you're very good on your soapbox because these are the things people have to think about, and it's really important that they think about them so we don't repeat the mistake that we made in 2020. Look at the damage. I mean, there are hundreds of thousands of Ukrainians that are in the next world that are saying to us, how the hell did you vote for Biden? Because I'd be here if you didn't. There's not a chance in the world that Putin would have invaded Ukraine if Trump were there.
There's all these rumors down here in southern Florida that Zelensky owns a multi-billion-dollar
Somebody
mansion
told us where it
and
was.
yachts and all. And the biggest yacht sales are to Ukrainian oligarchs because they got all of our money. You don't know what's rumor, what not. So I keep asking, does anybody know? So we met some people from Ukraine, and they said it's not like a war's not even going on. They're out clubbing. If you look at their Facebook pages, they're out dancing. They're doing their thing, even in Kyiv. But they said, yes, they know of these houses and these sales. And why would America not think there's corruption given that much money with no accountability? Because they're tired of it. That's why they left
When I
Ukraine.
asked that question,
Yeah.
people who are Ukrainian or knowledgeable in Ukraine, because I have a real issue with Pence, with Zelensky, because he's covering up
Yeah.
all of the files.
It's getting.
For example, Zelensky, I am told, and the only way to find out is to have it turned over, has access to all of the offshore accounts that not only Biden got money, but other Americans.
Yeah.
Boy, we like to know.
There's even a rumor my senator
You're
from New
not only
Hampshire.
my country, you
Yep.
turn that over. And
Yep.
we give it to him without any strings attached.
Yeah, but look at the
And the
money.
Republicans
He's getting
come along
paid.
with it, which further gives me pause when I was told by the prosecutors in Ukraine, I said, Mr. Giuliani, if you uncover this, you're going to be really, it's not very safe for you. I said, well, it's not very safe for me anyway. They said, you have no idea how many other people it involves. We're not saying it involves the entire government, but it's like people, we know who their names are, and it's not all from one party.
Are
So
you
I said, well,
suicidal, by the way? Oh, sorry. Go
can
ahead.
you tell me the name? And they said, well, we really can't. And frankly, we don't remember them. So long, sorted out. Our children remember that they're in makeup. But that's what this happened. A senator here and a congressman there. I mean, look, that place, Obama really blessed that place in a deal with Franklin Templeton. He blessed that place as the place that would be the cash cow for the Democrat Party. And even though it had no money, we were giving them oodles of money. So like we're doing now. So to grab in and take some of it back. So one person defending this latest 60 billion said, oh, it's accountable because it's going to the American military industrial complex. And I started laughing. I mean, that's the reason why it needs to be investigated.
Yeah. I love it too. And it wasn't that long ago that Kirby came out. Oh, maybe it wasn't Kirby, but anyways, they said
I think he was selling a used Chevrolet.
We had an accounting mistake, and there's like $6 billion unaccounted for that we think went to Ukraine, but it's just all corruption. But thank you, Mary.
Maybe, why don't you check?
Ask you a question.
But I just have an idea about that.
Okay.
Maybe they should check the box where they found the cocaine. They might find the money there.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good.
Are you suicidal?
No.
All right, you heard it here. Mayor Giuliani is not suicidal.
Why? Who?
I'm making a joke. They try to knock you off.
Oh,
You might get Epstein.
yeah. Hang myself in a 4-foot cell.
Yeah.
And I'm 6'2". I'm not 6'2", but he was. I think 6'1" or 6'2". Oh, I don't know. But I'm almost 6 feet.
Camera's broken. People
You're dealing with the
sleeping.
wrong person with me. I know that prison inside and out.
Somebody attacked him earlier that day.
People there. Used to be that I put people in prison. Now Fanny the Hoe wants to put me in prison. And somebody I don't even know in Arizona wants me to put him.
Well, that's the rumor.
For conspiring with people.
You haven't been subpoenaed or
If you're
told.
going to indict me with you, at least indict me with people I know. I mean, this is not the way I want to create new friends. By being indicted. I had to go look up the names of these people.
Oh, in Georgia?
Yeah, and Stanley.
Yeah, how can you have a conspiracy with people when you don't even know some of them?
Sidney Powell, allegedly gives states evidence, and this is going to bury Giuliani. And the press is so happy. They're so happy, particularly in New York here. Man, maybe we'll watch him go to jail. We'll be able to enjoy ourselves and really like it. We always hated him. He's a Republican, supported Trump. And then Sidney is asked, well, how much contact on this did you have with Mr. Giuliani? Oh, I never talked to him about it. I'm trying to figure out, as a lawyer who knows more about RICO and conspiracy, if I never talked to her, how could I have conspired with it?
It doesn't have to make sense. That's the problem. Even Trump, everybody in the world is saying about his case is a fraud. Everybody says that about the stuff against you. It's a scam, but yet they get away with it. That's the crazy thing. There's no rationalizing it. There's none. There's no rationalizing it. It's all complete corruption, and they're winning. I always was taught good conquers evil. Well, I want to start seeing some goodness. Amen, brother. And I'm going to leave you now. Whoops.
All right, doctor.
I took out your microphone here.
No, don't injure me now.
I took out your microphone here. There we go.
Dr. Maria, in case you haven't figured out, is very largely of Italian extraction. So she does things with her hands, and we all do. And that's why often you see these microphones falling down when I'm here. They fall down very, very easily. See, look at that. Just like that. There it goes.
We're almost done.
But we all talk with our hands. Italians do. It's because they're largely artists and they like to talk with their hands like this. Trump talks with his hands a lot. I was watching that today.
Yeah,
He's
United
always-
said too.
he always-
Well, I've always known, you've known that too.
Yeah, yeah.
obviously.
Well, just a lot of this.
Getting back into the center here.
Yeah, Chad, get in the center. I don't even think it exists anymore, the center.
Ah, that's funny.
So Biden has reacted to all of this turmoil that's going on in universities, to the point where, I mean, this is almost like an epidemic of crime going on. You've got about 50 universities that have been taken over by terrorists, which have significant national security concerns, because they seem to be saying they want to destroy one of our major allies, as well as do some real serious damage to us. So Biden has really stepped up here. I mean, we got to say that. His response yesterday was like really, really. It was so good that we don't understand it. You didn't see what he said? Oh my goodness! I mean, I can't. Biden's two new programs are, number one, he's going to relax the restrictions on marijuana. That's going to really help. That's going to help a lot. That's going to help. That's going to really, really help a great deal when he reduces the things on marijuana. What exactly is he going to do with marijuana? He's going to make available for free all the marijuana and cocaine that shows up in the White House, or at least the ones that aren't used. I mean, Ted, do you think that Hunter, when you look at the years and years of pictures of him looking like he can't resist taking cocaine, so bad that he couldn't stay clean for 4 weeks to protect his father against having pull strings and illegally gotten him into the military, and then he blows his first test, which would have required staying away from cocaine. I'm not sure, but 4 or 5 weeks, couldn't do it.
Couldn't do it.
So now it's been 4 years, at least, right?
Right.
Since he took cocaine and beat people up and did other things with it. Now, he never was able to kick it before. What makes everybody so confident that he isn't doing cocaine in the White House? Particularly when they found cocaine there and nobody.
They found cocaine in the White House. Can you? Yeah, I mean, it's very clear. I mean, there's obviously a double standard. The way they're treated by the media, the cover that they
Anybody
get.
ever test him? Does he get tested since he's in close proximity to significant national security information? I mean, he was in very close proximity as a civilian. His father laid out all of those, many of those documents right in front of him in the garage, where he walked past it every day for a year, going to his car. I mean, the difference between Trump's case and his are between night and day. Trump had a right to have him under the Presidential Record Act. Biden had to steal him. But then if you even look at the way they were cared for, nobody got random looks at them the way Hunter did. And at least the person, if anybody got random looks at it, it wasn't a guy who, by his own admission, was a partner of the spy chief of China. Remember, Hunter has described himself as a partner of the spy chief of China when he was walking past classified documents that have a relevance to China. But Joe walks on it. And he walks. It's going to have to be quite a case that gets put together that gets them. I don't know what it will be. I mean, they're on tape right now admitting this. Joe laid it out right at the beginning that it was a bribe. We're going to have to see. So the judge has now fined Trump $9,000 for his 9 alleged miscues. Suppose he does like a serious one. You can put him in jail. What do you think, Ted?
I mean, how? Yeah, I mean, so is he just going to continue to fine him and claim day after day every time the president speaks, or exercises his First Amendment rights? Is this judge gonna drag him in front of for another gag order hearing, and then fine him? And at what point does he put him in jail? Does he think he can do that? Does he think that'll backfire? Does he know that'll backfire?
Trump exercised more restraint today than usual. However, this is the first day, and there was nothing really volatile today.
No.
But if he gets beaten up outside of court by Coleman, which he does every day, that's going to eventually get to him. And the inequity of it's going to get to him. Like, this guy can beat me up every day and I can't answer. This has got to be illegal.
Yeah, it is.
You can't take away my tongue. You know, I'm sorry. Maybe you don't like it, but you can't chop it off. And these things in the past have nothing to do with this case. The interesting thing is, because it's such a weak case without a crime, Bragg is going to bring in what are known as prior bad acts. He's going to bring in other women unrelated to this case, unknown to this case, and have them testify that in one way or another, Trump harassed them. Now, that generally violates the statute that says you can't use prior bad acts in order to show intent but there also is a provision in New York law that prevents you from doing that. So what's gonna happen with this immunity, with this case? I really wonder what's going to happen with it. It's going to be quite an interesting decision. And those people who think they got it from the questioning of the justices are making a sad, sad mistake, because there are lots of things that go into this.
Mm-hmm.
I do think the one thing that he can be almost sure of is this will put the case off until after the election. Remember, if any part of this case is reversed, it goes back to Fannie Ho. She's going to have to hire somebody to do her work. The guy who did it, she threw out with $110,000, which she threw him out.
Oh, we're switching to Georgia.
Yeah, we're talking about the case in Georgia. You know, I know them so well. I just say Fannie, and I know it's Georgia. So, for the benefit of my dreams, you know, I just go Georgia.
Yeah. Well, maybe someday they'll let us present.
I had a dream the other night in which I told people, you can't put leg irons on me. You better not put leg irons on me. I don't know what I was prepared to do if they did. you know how when you dream, it happens and you're ahead of yourself and then you go back. So it was some ridiculous crime. Not paying your parking ticket on time, or something like that. Or not right. It was not paying your parking ticket on time because I didn't know I had a parking ticket, and I'm having this fight with the judge, with the lawyer. Then all of a sudden he puts leg irons on, and I said, "Well, why did you put the leg irons on?" He said, "That's what we do with these Reagan people." I said, "Oh, I didn't know that." He said, "Yeah. I mean, you're not just an ordinary. You're a Reagan person." I said, "But why would that affect whether I would tell the truth in this?" So it was quite a dream.
That is quite something.
And then I kept waking up. I don't know how it works. I wish a psychiatrist would tell me how, if you have a dream, you get up and you very quickly go back to bed. You go right back into that dream.
Yeah.
But it must screw up the dream, the continuity of the dream.
You'd think. Actually, yeah, that's a good. Sleeping is a funny thing. Before we go, Mayor, we should point out and honor the 4 officers.
Of course,
I have a picture here I wanted to bring up.
The 4 officers who lost their lives, and 4 who were wounded very seriously. That's in North Carolina.
Thomas Weeks.
It was. Is it Alden Weeks?
Thomas Weeks, Alden Elliott.
Oh, Alden Elliott and Thomas Weeks and Sam Pelosi.
Yep.
And Joshua Eyes.
Yep. Iyer.
And they all
we have them on the screen.
Were killed during a shootout, and then I think 4 others were wounded. I'm assuming they're recovering, but I can't be sure.
Four injured, and we are keeping up with them to see.
These are the people that Democrats are constantly scapegoating for everything, because they don't want to deal with their inability to really fix these neighborhoods over years and years of controlling them. every one of the major crime areas, or let's say all but a few of the major crime areas, are governed by Democrats, and many of them have been governed by Democrats from so far back in time that you can't remember. And they have used these districts as a source of wealth for them, not as some place that you could, make into a really improved. And if you want to watch improvements in those neighborhoods, you go back to 1994 to 2001, 2002, 2003. Without the benefit of some of these programs, we went ahead and did it based on drawing in people that really wanted a home, needed help. They were able to get interest-free mortgages, and these people are now homeowners. And the level of crime in those areas, even now with the increase in crime, has gone down substantially. And I always knew it would. I knew that my CompStat program, which could be anything you want it to be, because it really is just an excellent program for searching for information and calculating it and giving you observations of it you might not get just from the naked look at it. But CompStat program alerts us to where crimes are bad, what kinds of crimes, and then our own ingenuity and our own work tells us what kind of law enforcement has the biggest maximum impact on that kind of crime. You really want to shake up some of the major drug dealing, and here they are in the United States trying to do it. You arrest them all under RICO and take all their property away. All of it. Just take it all away. Say it's the proceed of it. If the guy's been a drug dealer all his life, everything he owns comes from the drug trade. Belongs to us. Let's stop him. Did before. No reason I wouldn't do it again. Instead, we have a silly president who doesn't understand that. He isn't tough enough to do it. And all he really cares about are race relations. Nothing else. And he divides the world that way. I mean, to put Winston Churchill's statue away is impossible for someone to do it if they're a loyal American, given what Roosevelt did for us. But I long ago concluded that Obama didn't love America, and then somewhat more recently have come to the conclusion that it's much worse than that. And his involvement in this is very substantial. And we're not hearing anything about people investigating the prince. And I don't know how you admit giving cash to a terrorist and you don't at least get investigated.
Yeah.
But if you're the prince, high and mighty prince, that I guess that can happen. So we're toward the end of our soccer time.
Yeah.
Let's make sure we got all the things that were important that have been left out of other areas.
A police officer, and we're getting the name, in Chicago had passed away. We want to get a picture of the name.
Yes, of course.
And the family had asked the mayor not to attend.
When you say mayor, you don't mean me.
Obviously not.
They asked Mayor
Johnson.
Oh, that's the guy that was worse than the other crazy mayor with the crazy hair.
Officer Huesca, we want to get the name right. Luis Huesca. And the family has asked, which is just so, right, for someone like you, it's just such a hard concept to wrap your head around.
No, I mean, I wanted to go to try to comfort them, but that assumes that you don't have knowing culpability for the death of someone. But in any event,
it's just so awful. All the news about fallen officers
and poor family. I mean, it's the hardest thing to live with, because once he was here, then he's gone. You review, should he have ever been a cop? People treat police officers horribly anyway. And
that's the worst.
Well,
Marjorie Taylor Greene, last thing. Motion to vacate.
Motion to
vacate the chair. Marjorie Taylor Greene is going to bring it up next week, she says. Everyone wants to know, what does Mayor Giuliani think of that?
Mayor Giuliani thinks the substance on which she has it based is pretty darn good. because I'm shocked at Johnson doing so little and supporting such an anti-American agenda, uh, including all this money for Ukraine without any accountability.
Yeah.
I don't know what, I mean, that's a phony political act. I don't know what you think you're doing to help the people of Cuba if you don't make sure that that money gets to the people. And there are ways to do that. And we do it with other foreign aid. And this is the second time the Democrats have been asked to do it and haven't. I think she should have required that. She also should have required a meeting with Zelensky in which he laid out a plan for what he's going to do with this money. I mean, Zelensky is the mentee of a major crook in Ukraine. I mean, I don't know that he's a crook himself, but he sure was trained by them. I mean, Kolomoisky, his boss, was the biggest money launderer in Europe. And there have been conversations that have been taped of him in which he expresses tremendous admiration for Kolomoisky, who he has put in jail. But I'm told the jail is somewhat equal to the estate that he has wherever in Monaco or something. It is to protect him because people want to kill him. It isn't true that there's not honor among thieves. What is true is there are a certain number of thieves who don't have honor and they try to steal from other thieves. And that has happened here numerous times, much more than we can count and probably much more than we can actually prosecute. But we should let them know that we know that they're not really fooling us by very much. So we'll be back with the other side of all this, and also whatever new things come up tomorrow that you're not going to hear about in the right way. And we'll see if the Yankees can break their losing streak, which actually it isn't a losing streak. Oh, yes, it is. They lost to Baltimore twice in a row. It is. It is after doing so well over the weekend and Judge waking up and the whole team waking up. Well, we'll see. They play Baltimore one more time, so we'll see what happens. God bless you. God bless the people of Israel and the people of the United States, and say a prayer for all these people to understand each other better and to love each other. Loving each other does not mean doing things that empower people to lose a sense of control, to lose a sense of discipline. In fact, that isn't loving people. That's being a childish person who never grew up from being a child. And you have a responsibility as an adult to set the right model for children. And the right model is you don't take money from anybody. That God doesn't want you to do it. Your parents don't want you to do it. Your friends probably are going to think there's something wrong with you if you do it. So we've got a lot to learn on how we teach morals and ethics at an early age. We depended a lot on the schools, the Catholic schools, to do it. And I think they're suspending grades at that level now at the beginning of this year or next year. Ted?
Next, what?
The Catholic schools, aren't they suspending some of their programs starting next year?
There's huge cuts, across the board.
Yeah, I mean, and they're not entitled to get any money, and they're not entitled to get any help. And it's kind of, I get the establishment of church and state and all that sort of thing, but it is an economic issue. I mean, they do save the state having to educate the child. So why aren't they entitled to some of the money from that reflects the secular education of that child, not the religious education, the secular education of the child? Now, many states have done that. But you know that the Biden administration, because Biden is a very, very good Catholic, doesn't want any money going to the Catholic Church. But he's not opposed to a lot of money going to abort fetuses, including fetuses that would have to be called young babies in the 7th, 8th, and 9th month, which I guess I'll ask the doctor this for sure. But it was my understanding that you abort them by crashing their skulls in. So Biden seems to have an extraordinarily selective application of the Catholic faith.
Well, yeah, he shouldn't be taking communion.
Maybe that's why, or it's only alleged, whether this is true. Maybe that's why he went in his pants when he was with the Pope. Everybody says he did, and it smelled like hell. You think that's possible?
Yeah, of course he did. I mean, of course it's possible. If somebody tells me that about him, I'm more likely to believe that it did happen than it didn't. I'll just say that. Most people would be the other way around. Most people, you wouldn't believe it.
There were
Right?
times way back when people would tell me things about him and I wouldn't believe them. You're right.
Yeah.
And now they turn out to be worse than
True.
what they were telling him. I mean, he really has done some of the wackiest, craziest, most dishonest and dishonorable things. I won't do it again, but you know how upset I got when that comedian, Yoko Poco,
Yost.
said that that Trump, that Biden was a decent man, and that's why his firefighter grandfather voted for him, because Joe was such a decent man. I just couldn't help but point out the 100 reasons why he's not, including the way he treats his grandchildren, among others, or the way he steals money, or the way in which he puts responsibility on other people that's truly his, or what he's done to his son Hunter in making him a degenerate drug addict, which could have been avoided if he had a father, even a father who was a crook, that decided, well, I'll do crooks with all the bums in Washington. I won't involve my son in it. But it's safer for him to involve his son in it, even though it ruins his life. I'm sorry. That's not a decent man. And Mr. Oko, please, 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 please. Take a better view of this and get your uncle, get your grandfather off the hook. I don't think your grandfather's going around saying that Hunter Biden was a decent man now that he's up in heaven, because he can see better than you and I. Yeah, all the things that Joe did, which probably are 10 times what we know about, and how much he's hurt the national interest. I mean, if this is not even like Clinton, where the crimes or the distortions were largely personal. It didn't hurt the United States with it. This guy is hurting the United States. People are dying as a result of insane decisions that he's made. Well, thank you very much. We'll see you tomorrow, 3:00, WABCRadio.com, 8:00, right here, America's Mayor Live, and God bless America. Bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. It was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve is because we're able to reason, we're able to talk, we're able to analyze. We are able to apply our God-given